You know that feeling, right? That special kind of dread that hits when your computer just won't turn on. Your entire digital life, all your work, your photos, everything just grinds to a halt. And now you've got to hand over this super personal device to a complete stranger and just trust them. It makes you feel vulnerable, and unfortunately, some people are way too willing to take advantage of that moment.
Okay, so let's just dive right into a real story. A user on Reddit takes his broken PC to a local repair shop. The technician tells him the power supply unit, the PSU, is fried, and it took the motherboard with it. Okay, fair enough, that can definitely happen. But then, the tech makes this really weird offer. He wants to buy the broken parts back from the customer for a small discount. And this is the exact moment where your internal alarm bells should start going off. Is this guy just being resourceful, trying to save a few bucks on parts for his shop, or is he trying to trick you into giving him perfectly good, valuable components for next to nothing? How are you supposed to know the difference? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So before we can learn how to spot a scammer, we kind of have to understand why we're so vulnerable to them in the first place. And a lot of the time, it comes down to a few really common, but really costly ideas we have about our own computers.
Okay, let's get started with myth number 1. And honestly, this is probably the biggest and most expensive one of all. It's this core belief that
My computer is fine and doesn't need any regular maintenance. You know, that whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it mindset? That is precisely what gets people into so much trouble. According to the IT pros at Avenir IT, this lack of basic preventative care is the #1 reason people end up losing their data and getting hit with huge repair bills. It's kind of like thinking you don't need a seatbelt just because you've never been in a crash.
And this comparison just makes it so clear. Your computer really is like your car. I mean, you wouldn't drive your car for years without changing the oil or rotating the tires, would you? Of course not. It would eventually just break down. Well, a PC is way more complex, and it needs that same kind of proactive care. You know, regular backups, antivirus updates, clearing out spyware to keep it running well.
All right, on to myth number 2. Now this one comes from a place we can all understand, just wanting to save a little bit of money when something goes wrong. It's this idea that,
Hey, my nephew's pretty good with computers, he can probably handle it. Come on, we all know that person, right? And listen, they might be great at setting up a printer, but a part-time enthusiast just doesn't have the specialized tools or the deep experience to diagnose really complex failures. They can accidentally turn a small, cheap problem into a total catastrophe. It's a classic case of you get what you pay for.
Now, let's talk about myth number 3, which flows right from that last one. It's the dangerous belief that when you finally do go looking for a professional, the only thing that really matters is finding the cheapest technician you possibly can. Look, a rock-bottom price almost always means a rock-bottom job. The best, most experienced technicians, they're in high demand, and their expertise costs money. A super lowball offer is often from someone who might diagnose the problem wrong, take like 3 to 5 times longer to fix it, or even worse, cause more damage. All of that is going to cost you way more in the long run.
And our final myth is a total classic, a real bait and switch. It's a sales tactic that should immediately make you suspicious. And it's the belief that
An honest tech can give you a solid quote right over the phone. Let me ask you this. Would you want a doctor to diagnose you without actually seeing you? No way. And a good technician can't possibly know what's wrong with a complex machine without running diagnostics. That cheap quote they give you on the phone, it's almost always just a hook to get you in the door. Once they have your computer, suddenly the price starts creeping up as they discover all these new problems. Okay, so now that we've totally busted the myths that make us easy targets, let's build ourselves a field guide. These are the real-world, concrete red flags you need to watch out for anytime you're dealing with a repair service. So what's wild about this list is that it's basically the exact playbook that was used on that Reddit user from the beginning of our story. I mean, let's look at the flags. Number 2, wants your broken parts. That was the first thing that set him off. Why would anyone want to buy junk? It's a huge sign that maybe it's not junk at all. Then, number 3, adds new problems daily. Remember how it went from just a power supply to a motherboard and then all of a sudden Windows was corrupted? That's a tactic called problem stacking. And finally, number 4, charging extra to save your data. That's your stuff. A real professional should always protect it, not hold it hostage. Each one of these is just a classic move to squeeze more cash out of you.
The bottom line is, these tactics are all about psychological games. As the experts at Pogo Computer Repairs put it so well, this isn't protection, it's pressure.
They create fear and a sense of urgency to trick you into paying for things you just don't need. It's the exact same business model used by all that pre-installed trialware, like Norton or McAfee, that gets more and more frantic as the trial runs out, just to pressure you into paying up.
And that's actually the perfect segue, because this whole pressure-based model isn't just for hardware repairs. Sometimes, the Shady repair is just a delivery system for the next scam, the one that happens on your desktop. We're talking about all that useless software, what I like to call digital snake oil.
So the official name for these things is PUPs, or potentially unwanted programs. And as Malwarebytes explains, you might have technically agreed to install them. They get bundled in with other free stuff you download. But trust me, you do not want them. They're basically designed to act like a virus, hitting you with aggressive pop-ups and these terrifying scan results that claim you have hundreds of critical errors that, surprise, only their paid version can fix. It's the exact same fear tactic, just put on autopilot.
So what kind of junk are we talking about here? Well, these are the programs a shady tech might install during a so-called tune-up. Things like registry cleaners, which Microsoft itself will tell you are totally unnecessary and can actually make Windows unstable. Or so-called PC optimizers that promise to make your computer run like new but do basically nothing. And of course, those bundled driver updaters or junk VPNs that are slow and have data caps. Their only real purpose is to get you to open your wallet.
Okay, I know. We have covered a lot of scary stuff. But now, let's flip the script and talk about empowerment. Here is a super simple, actionable checklist of things you should always do before you hand your computer over to anyone. This is how you take control back.
First, and seriously, this is non-negotiable, back up your data, always. If you can't, make sure the tech's first job is to recover it. Second, document everything. Be a detective. Take photos of your laptop or PC, inside and out. Third, get a little nerdy and use a free program like CPU-Z to write down the serial numbers of your parts, your memory, your hard drive. That's your proof against part swapping. And finally, always get a flat rate quote in writing before they start any work, and be sure to ask if they offer a warranty on their repairs.
Which really brings us all the way back to the main question here. After seeing all the ways a tech can cut corners, invent new problems, and pressure you into buying things you don't need, it's worth asking yourself, is the rock-bottom cheapest repair really the best value? Or is the real value in finding someone you can actually trust who stands by their work and who gives you some peace of mind? Something to think about next time you find yourself in a jam.